Welcome to Pack Your Bags with TUI. I'm Russell Kane. This is where I dig through celebrity suitcases item by item. Each episode, I chat with fascinating folks from sport, food, entertainment, you name it, about their 3 must-pack travel items. Some bring quirky mementos, others share clever hacks. Whatever they pack, it tells us something about how they see the world, whether they're roughing it outdoors or more typically enjoying the finer things in 5-star comfort. We'll also tackle your travel dilemmas and wrap things up with a laid-back quick-fire round. So settle in and enjoy as we unpack another guest's travel essentials and maybe a bit of their life story along the way. Today, I'm joined by author, TV presenter, trained therapist, podcaster, and friend who I've literally been on holiday with, Anna Williamson. Yes, Anna.
Hi, babe.
Not Anna Richardson.
Not Anna Richardson
That's
today.
your muddle up, isn't it?
It is. Yours is Nick Grimshaw. Mine is Anna Richardson.
That's all good because you were doing like the house renovation that lasted about 8 decades. Is it done?
Well, no, not at all, actually. So you're going to have to wait for you and Lynn's to have your housewarming soiree dinner invite, which you will get at some point. But no, we're right in the middle of the house reno. I'm right in the middle of Celebs Go Dating at the moment with Paul, who I know you've had on this wonderful podcast.
We have to say Paul C. Brunson.
Paul C. Yeah, you have to say that C. It's quite important to him, actually. Carrick is his grandfather's name.
But it sounds dead cool if you're American, but if you're British, it sounds like you're aristocratic or pretentious or something.
Or work in a bank somewhere, which is not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing.
Can do that. But yeah, actually also as well, listeners, Russell and I have actually been on holiday. In fact, I was saying to the TUI team before we did this that I do have first-hand knowledge of what it's like to share a cabin next to you and Lindsay.
Yes, exactly.
And let's just say they are very happily married.
That's not turbulence. But also, yes, Anna's part of a group of people. I know that when you go out for lunch, you never finish the lunch in your... I've never danced on tables during every single lunch.
Yeah.
Finished. And it's not like we were drinking gallons of wine. I mean, we were drinking with actual dancing on the table.
We seem to have some very crazy friends and a certain select group of friends where I'd say we push the fun to the max.
And it was the south of France, which I was totally ignorant on because I think the south of France is like billionaires on jet skis. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of that.
There's quite a lot of that.
But
not me and Russ.
It's also, when we were actually in Saint-Tropez and even Monte Carlo, it's actually an amazing destination just to poke around. There's hotels of every budget. It's interesting in its own right. The old town's beautiful. The sea was beautiful.
We had a great time.
It was a great trip. Anyway, we're going to chat all about your travel experiences. You have brought 3 must-pack items to show me, but before we get into that, every episode we share a travel dilemma from one of our listeners and we get our guests to have their take on it. Now, you might not be a travel pro, but let's face it, it's not every day that we get a trained therapist in the guest chair. Okay, so here is the dilemma. I'm the maid of honour for my best friend's wedding and currently planning a hen do. We are going abroad and I really want to make it special for her, but the problem I am facing is figuring out how to ask everyone to contribute to the cost of the hen do. It will be a little bit more expensive than the usual night out in our local town. Any ideas how I can bring this up to the rest of the wedding party in the least awkward way possible?
Do you know what? My advice on that is the awkwardness is all that person. It is what it is. I think everyone understands now that when you go on hen do's, stag do's, they cost money. And if you just have to be transparent, just say, look, we're planning this is the cost, and give that person the opportunity to either say, that's fine with me, or it's not. And I think now, I mean, what is it? The average hen do now, or average wedding is like £500 a person. By the time you factored in, your hotel, the hen, the prezi and everything like that, it's a lot of money. I think you're overthinking it. I think it's nice that you are being considerate of people's different possible financial status, but stick it out there. Say, this is what it's going to cost.
How would you phrase it? Give us an Anna GPT.
Like on a WhatsApp group, yeah?
Yeah.
Go with statement. So like, as opposed to coming in too apologetic. Hi, guys. I'm in charge of the hen do. Really looking forward to it. Maybe come up with 2 options if that's a possibility. Totally call out the elephant in the room. Totally appreciate they can be, it can be a bit of an expensive one.
Lead with the negative to diffuse it.
Everybody has different financial pressures and responsibilities. So this is what I'm thinking. This is it. It's going to cost this much per person. Let me know privately if you prefer. to not disclose on a group chat. If it's something that you fancy doing or if you can't, no pressure or judgment, but this is where we're starting. And then maybe use that data to figure out if the majority are in, great. And it gives those other people an opportunity to say, actually, I'm tapping out on this one. Money is always such an awkward topic, but I do think in these situations, you just have to be as candid as possible. Okay, this is where it turns on you. We're going to start analysing you. What's your first must-pack item? This is such a great part of this podcast because it speaks volumes about everybody that comes
Indeed.
on here. My 3 items basically describe the neurotic mess that I am.
No, I'm going to love them, clearly.
So here we are. Hang on. Right. First one, mosquito repellent. Now, I'm a fragile person, Russell. I bought my miniature one today, okay, but normally I come with a full tankard.
Like a scuba one on
like
your back.
Like an oxygen tank.
with a flamethrower pump just to coat the kids and Alex and yourself.
Literally doused from start to finish. I am neurotic about this, and this comes from probably a little bit of dormant PTSD. When I was 15 and I went away on one of the school holidays, to Italy, I didn't take my mosquito repellent. So I went...
because listeners might not know, but of course you ended up married to an Italian
I
gentleman.
did marry an Italian, yes, I did. Alessandro.
You must have caught the bug on that trip.
Hey.
Go on, what happened? Did you get bitten?
Yes, really badly. And it was really embarrassing because it was at that age, 15, I was starting to fancy the boys, may have been getting off with Daniel from, lower sixth, and all that kind of stuff. I then got bitten completely all over my legs. I then developed cellulitis, which no one ever wants to get.
Not at 15, that's what your nan gets.
Exactly.
90, cellulitis. She's doing well just to have cellulitis, she's 90.
Literally, my nan then went on to get cellulitis, and I was like, this is the most embarrassing moment of my life. So then there I am at 15, trying hard to keep up with being vaguely fit. I wasn't. With cellulitis on my left leg, it blew up like a doner kebab.
Yeah.
And then I realised that mosquitoes don't like me. So from now on, I am permanently doused in mosquito repellent.
Well, I would say the opposite. Mosquitoes obviously love you because they feast on you. They just will not come near me. I'm so needy.
You're needy.
That I take it personally. That like Lindsay gets bitten. They're obviously going past me and go, I ain't that hungry. Anyway, good item. Now, we're both, I know you quite well, Anna. I know we're both planners. We like being improvised and impulsive, but we love a schedule. But I think there's value, is there not, in not overpacking? What does overpacking mean? What is it saying about yourself if you're someone that can't let go?
Yeah.
Do you think it's something to do with control?
Absolutely. It's control and it's anxiety, which is really underpinned with fear. It's needing all the stuff just in case. I mean, I admire people that can just go away with, a pair of pants and a toothbrush. I'd say you and I, Russell, we like to prepare for never actually coming back.
Yeah.
Just in case.
I like that. I think that's why one of my best friends and my wife are sort of opposite to me. I think you're drawn to people that have what you need.
Yes.
My best friend, Dan, he landed in Ibiza at sort of, like 2 a.m.
Oh, that horrible flight.
But his check-in wasn't until the next day at 2
Yeah.
p.m. So he went to the nightclub to meet some friends that were already there, Pasha. I mean, all he had was a backpack anyway, because he's already an underpacker.
Yeah.
They're like, you can't bring any bags in at all. And he's like, but it's got my passport in it and the little bits of clothes. And he went, well, there's nothing we can do.
I'd have a panic attack.
So
Russell.
instead of doing what anyone... Like you and I, like, right, let's get a taxi to the
Back to
hotel, ask
sit
him
in the
to
reception,
storage, and then come.
Yeah.
He put his backpack with his passport and everything in the bush next to Pasha, went in, had a few sherries, danced until sunrise, came out, got his backpack, went and checked in.
Can I just say, I admire...
That's so far from what I can...
Russell, that is so far from how you and I operate in life. You and I have a plan for the plan and a plan and a plan. We would have seriously orchestrated. I really admire your friend.
Yeah.
That is, that level of spontaneity is something I can only dream of.
So look for your spontaneity, look for trusting the universe.
I would say, embrace that spontaneity. I think it definitely symbolises enjoying the lack of control that you don't need to have if you go travelling. And I think embrace that trip. If you are an anxious traveller, and that is quite a daunting prospect, I always say to people, have that escape route, have the escape hatch, which is, you can always get a plane back. If you really are not enjoying it or whatever, you can always come home again.
Now, this has come up a few times, and in fact, I need to message Paul, your colleague, Paul C.
Paul.
And tell him he's changed my life, because he has spoken about solo travel.
Oh, I do
being
this.
One of his favourite. And he said, now and again, I will go on an aeroplane and I will go to somewhere and I will just explore it. I'll have great food.
Yeah.
I will walk about and then I'll come home refreshed. And that's my little moment for myself. The next week, I went to Munich on my own.
Did you?
And I had the best time. Munich was amazing, but it's not because Munich was amazing. It's that weird, excited feeling in your belly, like something slightly naughty of being on your own.
Yeah, it's liberation.
Do you still do it? Have you found it? What do you get from solo travel?
Yeah, I absolutely do, actually. I don't go abroad on my solo holidays. I used to. I love my own company. I'm actually an introvert. So I think for me, a happy parent, happy children.
Exactly.
You are not a good parent if you are a stressed out, screaming, overtired, having completely lost yourself. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm boasting, but I am a coach and a therapist, and I do try and practice what I preach. Self-care has to come first. The whole put the oxygen mask on first, but you have to be. If I'm stressed out, knackered, overly anxious, really suffering, my kids suffer because I'm a terrible parent. I am. I'm grouchy. I'm just not doing anything properly, because Alex does them too. And we actually really encourage each other to do them, because it's hard parenting, like really hard. So he's done a couple of his own ones. He likes his retreats and stuff. He's really into his health and fitness, and that's where he really gets his energy from. I'm quite an introvert, but I tend to enjoy, I love nothing more than literally like a spa day by myself. I never go to spas with anyone else. That's kind of my thing, because I just think, I'm having treatments anyway. Why would I sit around? I don't want to talk to anyone. We talk for a living. I'm sick and tired of people.
Our social batteries are drained.
Done. And I love nothing more than eating by myself. I love and crave my own space.
Yeah. It's worth here drawing the difference between the words loneliness and solitude. Because if you learn through traveling alone to train yourself to enjoy your own company, it's actually impossible to be lonely.
It's impossible.
Loneliness converts into solitude with the right training and mindset.
Completely. It's so positive to be able to sit comfortably with your own thoughts and just allowing free association to just where you want. I mean, a friend of mine always calls it, she always calls it a day of no obligation. And this is what I call my sort of me time, just to literally go where the day takes you. I don't broadcast it to everyone. I just say I'm not available that
donor day.
No one knows where. Even Alex won't know half the time. But I did it actually last week. I had a filming day for Celebs Go Dating that suddenly got pulled. We just changed something in the schedule. Instead of filling it very quickly, which I can do, I decided to not. So I left it in my diary and just didn't tell anyone that I wasn't working.
Lovely.
Oh, it was lovely. I just went and had a little breakfast. I went, mooched about, did a little this, did a little that. It was the most cathartic day, and it recharged my batteries.
Are you a fan of Oliver Burkeman, that book 4,000 Weeks? Have you read it?
I know of it. I haven't read it.
4,000 weeks it's a number that sounds, what's 4,000 weeks? That's the average
your lifespan.
Man.
Yeah.
And he says the reason life goes faster and faster as you get older is because of routine. Now, we need routine, kids from school, work. The more routine your life is, the faster life passes. And when you're learning new things and everything's novelty, everything slows down, which is why time passes slowly for children and very fast for elderly people and somewhere in between for all of us. And the trick to slow life down, there's two of them. One, you can do novelty things, a day of no obligation. Or two, you can actually slow down and savor the routine things you're doing in novelty ways. But a day of no obligation, in theory, should pass more slowly than a routine.
It does actually, yeah.
Because you're exposing yourself to new experiences. Hey, we're changing lives here.
We're changing lives, Ross. It's empowering and it's powerful. And I think it's really hard as a parent to park that guilt. But you know what? Park the guilt.
What if someone's on the fence and they're a bit nervous about travelling on their own? How would you get them off of that?
I would say choose, first of all, somewhere which feels safe. So it doesn't feel too far outside your comfort zone. We talk about in therapy a lot about comfort zone, step out your comfort zone. I prefer to think of it as a functioning zone, because actually stepping out of comfort zone can actually be too overwhelming for some people. What's your functioning zone? Just push the boundaries outside that. So, for example, getting on a plane somewhere initially might be a bit too much initially, but going into the next county might be very doable. Genuinely ask yourself, what feels manageable for me? What do I want to get out of this? What do I want to get out of this solo trip? Insert the feeling, is it exhilarated? Is it learning something new? Is it culture? Is it relaxation? Whatever it may be. And then choose that destination and that trip depending on how you can then serve that desire. So for me, it's relaxation and recharge. I don't need to be in another country for that. I can literally be in a different room in my house if I need to be. It's what I do with that time.
Is there any data around intentionally going back to a geographical area that's problematic? Say I've got bad memories of being on holiday in France because I didn't have happy experience there. So going back to the same place and having a good experience.
Because we often get left with, stuck in a time warp with very triggered memories. And memories are very powerful because it really taps into our sensory acuity. Funnily enough, actually, my recent series of Celebs Go Dating, which is coming out soon, one of our celebrities, we went away to Ibiza. for one of our scenes. We did it for a week. And actually one of our celebrities, a bit nervous about it. And I think away from their crutches, and being in a new environment with new people, it was a genuine fear for them. And we actually did do some work off camera, around reframing that, about reframing it in a safe space with safe people and reprogramming that, and I would say doing it safely, yes, but, I'm a big advocate of exposure therapy, which is essentially what it is, which is dealing with that painful memory, but then reprogramming it into something. You can't change a memory,
No.
You can't change what actually happened, but you can change and shift the feelings associated with it.
And would you say that's exposure therapy? I've not heard that term before. Would that help with social anxiety as well? Because social anxiety's got to be massive if you're traveling to a new place.
Social anxiety is one of the highest forms of, anxiety is the world's biggest mental health problem.
And traveling with you on the surface, you would think that would be the wrong thing to do, but you're saying it could be a good thing to do.
As in to cure social anxiety.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's liberating. Exposure therapy. And I say a heavy caveat here, if you there are, like any sort of spectrum, it depends where on a spectrum, if you are feeling crippling social anxiety. So for example, flight anxiety, and this is something that I actually experienced in recent years. And
flight anxiety.
And I've actually overcome it. But some therapists, and say some people who do, because a lot of people really struggle with that. If they are really anxious to fly, but their job, for example, or even family members, like for example, so me having flight anxiety is really inconvenient because my husband comes from Italy. I needed to get a grip on that because I can't not go.
When you say flight anxiety, just like a phobia of flying, you mean?
Yeah. It's actually claustrophobia.
It's called what?
Claustrophobia. So we often confuse claustrophobia with claustrophobia. Sometimes it is claustrophobia, it's fear of small places.
Yeah, because I suppose if flight could be the social anxiety being bunched up here with the people, or it could be scared of the technology of being in the air.
Or being trapped. For me, claustrophobia is a fear of being trapped. So, and you can have both. But I sort of developed that and I needed to kind of get over it. Now, some clinicians, they use exposure therapy to completely get to the root of that issue and pull someone through severe panic, severe anxiety on a flight. And I would always say to people, never, ever do that yourself without having a clinician that's taken you through that process. It can be highly effective and it can literally in one go. It's a bit like it plays into hypnotherapy.
High success rate then.
Can have a really good success rate, but what you are essentially doing is putting that person into trauma because they will go through that trauma response, and that process of that therapy is you have to go through it to then come out the other side of it. So you should never do that by yourself. But yeah, I think traveling can be it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It can cause social anxiety, but it can also help to cure social anxiety.
And how can people build restorative time into their trips? So not just sightseeing, but they can actually recharge. Is there anything I've not thought of? Think of massages and spas and yoga. How else can you recharge that social battery when you're away?
I think sometimes tapping into, if we're going on coachy on it, into your values and your beliefs, what you really value, tap into that. Is there something you haven't explored? So let's say that creativity is one of your high values. Is there something that perhaps you could explore around creativity that's new and that, that you haven't perhaps tried before? But then it's different for everyone. For me, so I always say this with Louisa, my obviously our good friend, who I do Luana with, her worst nightmare is lying on a sunbed doing nothing. I can lie on a sunbed and have done flat for 7 days.
Same. You wouldn't think I was good at that.
I wouldn't think you were good at that.
Books. I'm a bookhead.
For me to really restore is to turn the phone off, and I love nothing more than just reading.
People will be surprised with both of us do not give off the energy of someone that can do all-inclusive 14 days, but I could probably do 3 weeks before I got itchy feet. I might do a couple of excursions.
Even then, I'd be waiting to come back.
Yeah, you're right.
Honestly, the same sunbed every day. I can honestly sit there, and it drives Alex, my husband, mad too. Because
he's very active, isn't he? He's a personal trainer, Alex, isn't he?
And he likes to explore as well. But I can honestly sit on my backside for 2 weeks straight reading.
What's your second item?
A Velcro sleep mask that I stick on.
But to describe it to people listening, it's made of like a cloth that goes all around the Velcros at the back, so you don't have the uncomfortable straps.
It's so
elastic
comfy.
Bit, yeah.
No, it's like a ninja mask. When you're a kid, you stuck it around your head. It's like that, but really soft and and lovely. But it completely blocks out the light. So my mask comes everywhere with me. So when I go on a flight, honestly, you wouldn't want to sit next to me because I do look like a complete and utter weirdo. But I have the earplugs in and the eye mask on, and the reason for that is you reduce your sensory overload because anxiety, obviously, you're kicked into fight or flight. So the antenna's up. I'm hearing the tannoy constantly on on edge. So for me, I deaden all my other senses, and that comes from sight and from ears. And I find it reduces my anxiety by literally 80% by accepting, and a lot of anxiety is just accepting the situation you're in. I get on the plane, if I'm with Alex and the kids, he's brilliant because I don't also want to project that onto the children. But then I'm fine once we've got up. I don't know what it is. It's something about the leaving. So I think if I can't see anything or hear anything, I can't see doors closing, I can't see people shuffling around and getting in my way.
Yep.
So that's my eye mask.
I might do a couple of my gigs like that. They'll probably improve. Can't hear the audience, can't see them. Absolutely smashed it, I think. What were your childhood travel experiences like?
Well, we never actually travelled abroad.
What?
My parents didn't do abroad. We tended to, my parents liked doing like Britain, basically. But then I kind of got the bug when I was at school. And it was actually me that got my parents do travel now as family, but
so where
it
did you
actually took
first
me
go? Yeah, so where did you go?
We went to Skiathos.
So what was it like travelling in Skiathos?
Loved it. Honestly, Skiathos is up there as my favourite Greek island. So many lovely family memories, so many cute little streets and towns. And you know what? The best chicken souvlaki you can ever have. My parents, creatures of habit, so we went to Skiathos several times.
I've heard you talk passionately about Tenerife. Now,
yeah,
loads of places have come up here.
Yeah.
But passion for Tenerife is a new one. But what is it about Tenerife that you like?
Just stayed at some lovely hotels.
Yeah.
But you know, it only takes 3.5 hours to get there, or whatever it is. So it's a really short flight time. And I've always been with my mum again. So my mum got the travel bug, basically. Basically what I realise, it's my dad that doesn't like to fly.
Right.
Because the minute I started flying, my mum, like a rat up a drain pipe, she tags along with me everywhere I go.
So what is it like travelling with your mum?
Surprisingly good. My mum and I, we bicker like cat and dog, but actually she's a brilliant travel companion. She's just very grateful. I think she didn't travel much in her early years of having kids and being married to my dad. So I think once I unlocked that travel bug, she has embraced it. So yeah, we have a lot of fun. Anywhere
else that's sentimental or special to you that you've been that really stands out in your memory?
St Lucia was a really lovely trip. Took my mum again to that one. My mum's a really good traveller.
A real picture of your social life. Me and the whole crew, my husband and my mum, stand back, gangsters coming through.
St Lucia was lovely. I just thought that was such a beauty. Out of all the Caribbean islands.
I'm going there this year.
Oh, yeah, have you been?
No, I've been. I did go once when I was younger, just in and out for something for work. But me and Lindsay
are you and Lindsay going? I think you've told me you're
Minna
going.
has decided that she doesn't want to go on holiday with us at Christmas. She wants to stay with my mum. So Lindsay and I are going for 5 nights on our own. It's the longest we've ever been away from her, but she's kicking us out the door. So we're going, St Lucia.
You have told me this. I didn't actually even know this. St Lucia is one of my favourite places.
Why?
It's just lush and green, and it just feels more like, this sounds a bit of a weird thing to say. When you picture the Caribbean, having never been to the Caribbean before, and I'm lucky to have been to a few of the islands, it's what I imagine the Caribbean to be like. Like, it's just really natural and really authentic. And for me, it just did everything I hoped it would do. And I think you're gonna so love it.
Did you do any exploring, or did you do your pile of books?
I did pile of books, but then we did kind of scuba diving, and like there's Rodney Bay, like it's
Rodney Bay.
I know it sounds really strange, Rodney Bay, but it's just beautiful, honestly. But also on standout destinations, just so I don't sound like a complete loser, just going on holiday with mum. My and Alex's honeymoon was pretty spectacular.
Where was
that? We went to Indonesia. So we went to
Indonesia.
Yeah. So we went
Whereabouts?
to Bali. So we went to Seminyak first of all, and then we went to the island of Lombok after that.
What did you do? Was it beach or was it explory?
Beachy but surfy, and we really just got into the whole, moon ceremonies and actually you and Lindsay would love it. We really got into that.
I mean, she's turned into a right hippie, my wife.
Honestly, the minute we turned up there, we turned into massive hippies, and we loved it. Doing the moon ceremonies on the beach. Like we were desperate to go back, but it's an 18-hour flight, and we can't face that just yet with our 2 kids.
No. I think it's one last item.
So, last item.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
so
here we go.
Listeners, is a really spectacular looking bucket
hat. So I'm going to be honest with you. This is because of the reno we're in at the moment, my actual bucket hat is in storage.
Yeah.
So I had to get a replica just to demonstrate it.
I like it. It's a beautiful pink bucket hat. There's fresh lemons illustrated on it. It's very joyful.
It's a bit Kevin and Perry. That's where I like it. So I'm a massive hypochondriac. Get sunstroke quite a lot. Okay, so I have had the Mickey taken out of me for years. This hat, the real one that's in storage at the moment, that's been going for 20 years, Russ. Same hat. I drag that on every holiday I go on. It's become a bit of an omen now. My little lucky mascot. It's like a lucky pair of pants. It cost me €3 from, I don't even know where, some beach
Skiathos.
stall. Yeah, honestly, probably Skiathos. And whenever I go on holiday, no hat does it quite like that hat. It's the perfect shape, size. It just about lets me have enough sun on my face, and it keeps me cool, keeps me
It's good because
sunstroke
it's practical
free.
at the day, but it's also dance floor friendly at night. You
This
look
is
cool AF.
Thanks, babe.
A couple of aviators on, and it looks intentional rather than medical.
Thank you. Thanks, babe. And Louisa always says to me, as you will know from her, she's like, can't you afford, she goes, you do quite well now, can't you afford a better hat? And I'm like, quite honestly, babes, money just can't buy class sometimes.
Exactly.
And here we are.
Well, that's awesome. All I've left now is, and it'll be a miracle if we're able to stick to the title of this section, quickfire.
I'm going to really try.
Good luck. We've already done a dissertation each of words. Here we go. And you can't obviously pick Louisa or anyone obvious.
Yeah, go on.
Dream celeb travel partner.
Paul C. Brunson.
I'll let you have that.
Just.
City break or beach escape?
Beach escape.
First thing on your plate at the buffet.
Oh.
So you're going up, what are you picking up first? Do you do with a buffet, I still do a formal starter visit.
So do I.
With salads
Salad
and
bar
meats.
first. Yeah.
We're so aligned.
We're so alike, Russ. This is why I wish you were on this. We've got a group holiday coming up, guys, and Russ can't make it because he's so busy. But I'd say it's the salad bar. I go for my little starter. Formal starter.
With a slight pause in between to mimic full a la carte.
Always the pause, possibly even a soup course.
Possibly.
Yeah,
I do that as well.
Yeah.
And we'd like to go for the a la carte, but we can't because our children would spoil it by being impatient and crying, just like they ruined my life. Biggest travel ick.
People's feet on seats around
when it
you.
comes through from the row behind, there's a toe.
Just put your feet away.
I wait for them to fall asleep and I just get Lindsay's nail varnish out and I paint that toe.
You should.
I don't do that. Please don't do that. First thing you do when you check into your hotel?
Jump on the bed like a lunatic. Or check the minibar.
Yeah. Normally in that order.
Yeah.
I think it's the other way around.
Yeah,
isn't it?
You know it.
Shot of vodka, bed trampoline.
And also, I am that person. I basically am like a 60-year-old dad. I fling open those doors and stand there with my hands on my hips and glaze out at the view.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Thoughts on clapping when the plane lands?
Oh, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm here for that.
Favourite holiday activity? I'm not going to let you have lying on a sunbed and reading.
Enjoying my husband? Too much?
Holiday planner or just turn up?
I'm quite a turner-upper, actually.
Really?
No, I'm lying. I need a full itinerary and I need to have checked every single possible place.
Don't try and lie to me, Williams. Lie in or early riser?
Oh, lion.
Most embarrassing travel moment of your life, apart from cellulitis, lower sixth leg? I
was in Egypt with my boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
I got a dicky belly. Let's just say we were spooning in bed.
No, Anna.
And I was asleep. And let's just say he woke up.
So you were asleep?
It was
a nocturnal event.
Yeah,
that's less,
Yeah, it was an accident. It can
happen.
It happened.
Go-to holiday drink. You still on the spicy margs?
Do you love a spicy marg? Although, me and the Big Al, we have a little penchant on Negroni.
I do like those. Best beach destination you've ever been to?
I mean, it's got to be St. Lucia.
Most surprising destination you've been to, where it just was nothing like you thought it was going to be?
China. It's just so different. And I know that might sound really obvious, but
it's a culture shock, isn't it? There's nothing to sort of go, well, that's a bit like home, but different. You're starting from scratch.
Everything is completely different and, really interesting as well. I mean, the cuisine was just nothing I'd ever tried before.
It's a mystery soup every time.
It really is. But it was just so captivating.
Best travel memory?
Best travel memory.
If you had to pick one.
I mean, I guess probably my honeymoon. Like, that was really special.
I do need to thank you, but I can't thank you properly without talking about one of the first times we met when Lindsay and I were running late for a King's Trust event where Prince Charles was at the time, Charles and Camilla were going to be sat in this theatre and we were going to hand out some King's Trust awards.
It's a big the King's Trust Awards. Yeah.
British celeb, some American ones, all in the audience. And I said to Lindsay, we have to turn up early in the day because the more D-list you are, the earlier you arrive, okay?
We all know how it works.
And you don't turn.
I was first.
You don't walk behind Tom Cruise, and you certainly don't turn up when the
George Clooney turns up, all the king's there. Yeah, exactly.
So Elaine's like, of course not, Russell. We'll go to a cafe around the corner. And as we were nice on time, and as she stood up, her trousers split at the rear end.
Like fully from top to bottom
Let's
of cheek.
just say the underwear was minimal, and that's being generous.
Yeah.
So she was like, oh, am I going to do this? Like, if you make me late, yeah, I'll never forgive you. So we had to go into a hotel, beg for a sewing kit. Then I had a row under the toilet door while she sewed her own bum back up. We then went to this red carpet event, and we were, I'm talking just before the main royal.
Just before the royal thing happens.
We just got on the carpet.
Yeah. And what do I do on there?
And Anna is on the carpet, and she is conducting the interviews of the people arriving. She's got a camera person with her and microphone out.
So I just do the red carpety bit because I've been a King's Trust ambassador for 15 years.
And I'm very experienced with these things. But even I thought you were just capturing funny interviews that will be edited at a later date to make a funny reel. What I didn't realise was, well, first of all, let me tell you what I said. Anna was like, well, why are you late then? And I went, this is why we're late. And I spun my wife round, yanked the camera and zoomed in on Lindsay's bum, which was sort of sewn up, but
there was still cheek on show.
There was cheek on show.
Definite cheek on show.
Anna laughed. We all laughed. It was a great interview. I went on my way, walked into the theatre. What I didn't realise was that was a live stream into the theatre.
On 1,000-foot screen to 2,500.
Most of which were
celebrities and very key royal people, persons of note.
Absolutely. I had no clue, genuinely no clue. I wouldn't have done that to Lindsay. We both walked in and there was a massive cheer, which I assumed was for my amazing comedic achievements. Sat down, started to watch the show. And in the interval, Ian Sterling went, "You're not in trouble for that, mate?" And I went, "Trouble for what?" And he just opened his phone, and there it said on the Daily Mail website, Russell Kane's wife wardrobe malfunction, with a picture of Lindsay's split bum and a smile emoji.
King Charles, or Prince Charles at the time, literally walked in. You were passing ships. It was that close.
It was anyway.
It was a brilliant moment.
Well, thank you very much, Anna, for joining us. I've sweated while telling that. I don't know why I started to tell it. Anything else to promote? What's coming out? Obviously, Go Dating, got a new series coming.
Go Dating, yes, that is.
Any book? Anything other books? Any other projects?
I mean, there's always a lot going on, to be honest with you. I mean, lots of Luana the podcast.
Luana, of course. Any more plans for it? I went to Luana.
We need to chat with you, actually.
I went to a Luana live date at the Palladium, but it was such a funny show.
Well, thank you.
If you have to see Luana live, it's very rude, it's very funny, and it's like being in a nightclub. But it's the London Palladium.
Thank you, mate. Well, that's such a, and you know how much Lou and I love your critique.
And weirdly empowering. Like you would think,
it is empowering.
If you look at it on the surface, it's like Louisa dressed as a nun and strippers and everything. But it's weirdly sort of empowering, female power centric, which is why I nearly got torn to pieces. You did. Like a dog with a chew.
You literally did. Well, Lou and I, we have started to get our creative brains back in gear.
Yes.
So you will be getting a phone call to ask us to basically help write the second half of it.
Or do a guest run across wearing tiny pants.
Would you like to?
It could happen.
Oh, you're in.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pack Your Bags with Tui. If it's your first time listening, we have plenty more episodes for you to dig into with the likes of Paul C. Brunson, of course, Larry Lamb, Kimberly Walsh was just on. Check those out. And for those of you who have been with us all series, thanks for joining us on